Welcome to Transform Now, the podcast brought to you by SS&C Blue Prism. Enterprise AI isn't just a tool, it's the heartbeat of smart organizations like yours, helping to reinvent work to deliver higher growth, more customers, and better experiences. Join us as we discover how AI-powered work orchestration and automation is making things better for everyone: customers, employees, shareholders, and most importantly, you. Let's get into the show.
Hello everyone, Brad Hairston here. Welcome to Transform Now. My guest today is Grzegorz Wasiak, Senior RPA Developer at Electrolux, which is based in Krakow, Poland. Grzegorz recently was awarded the 2025 Customer Excellence Award Global Builder of the Year, and we're going to talk about exactly what contributed to him getting that huge honor. Grzegorz, welcome. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself?
Hello, Brad. Thank you for having me, and congratulations on pronouncing my name correctly. I know it's one of the harder Polish names, so big thanks for trying. As you mentioned, I'm a senior RPA developer working mostly with Blue Prism, but over the years I had some experience with both Automation Anywhere and UiPath, but Blue Prism is the one I use the most.
Awesome. Well, we haven't had many automation developers on the podcast over the last 5 years, so I'm really excited to have you here and let us take a peek into your world and learn from you. So glad to have you. And yes, I've been practicing your name. You were very kind and said that I could just call you Greg, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pronounce your name, the Polish version, as best I can throughout this.
Sure.
So Grzegorz, before we dive in, can you tell us a little bit more about Electrolux? Many people may not be familiar with your organization.
Yes, so Electrolux is a Swedish appliance company, and our purpose is to shape living for the better, which translates for a healthier eating, longer lasting clothes, and lower environmental footprint for the households. And strategically, we lean on 3 pillars: sustainable design, modular product platforms, and heavy digitalization, which I am a part of as RPA. In Electrolux structure, I am part of RPA Center of Excellence as a senior developer, as I mentioned, and my job is to not only build and maintain automations, but as a senior, I am also scouting for emerging technologies that we can add to our portfolio, and to help and collaborate with developers both locally in EMEA, as we are located in Krakow, Poland, as well as our other RPA teams in APAC, as North America, and Latin America as well.
Okay. You mentioned the focus on sustainability that the Electrolux is known for. I read that the company has goals to be climate neutral, I think on the operations side by 2030. That's really impressive. And it's clear, from what you said, that this permeates down through the organization. So that's really neat. Well, Grzegorz, congratulations on winning the SS&C Blue Prism Global Builder of the Year Award. That's very impressive. What does this recognition mean to you? And how do you think it reflects your work in intelligent automation?
Personally, it's a great summary of my career so far. I actually have a background not in IT, but finance and accounting. And when I started my work, I started automating my daily tasks at that time with Excel and VBA coding. Then somehow by accident, I started with RPA. But then when I saw the opportunities that RPA gave us, I decided to change my career path into automation. And now I am a senior developer not only creating those automation, but also helping others. And in the end, I was recognized with this award. That's a great summary so far. And that shows that I choose the correct path, and hopefully it's a great way forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Well, there's a lot of people like you that started in finance and accounting and found their way to automation. The two go hand in hand, and often it's the starting point for many companies. They begin their automation program, right there. So not surprised to hear that. How do you see the role of the RPA developer evolving in the next few years, especially with the increasing adoption of Gen AI and other emerging technologies?
I think not only RPA developer, but software developer overall will become less of a script writer and will shift into like a product manager, because we see rising trend of agentic workflow and
Mm-hmm.
other tools that even write code itself. And recent model context protocol that
Mm-hmm.
greatly enhance capabilities of what large language models can do in terms of coding. And
Mm-hmm.
developers will shift from, as I mentioned, not only writing the code, writing the rules, but governance of the agents, preparing the right context, preparing the right instructions, connecting all the software together
Mm-hmm.
to enhance the performance of AI agents, basically. I saw even example of how large language model can replace UI automation.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of using application modeler, the large language model see the website
Mm-hmm.
via code or with vision capabilities, and by that they can write the selectors themselves. So
Mm.
the shift will be towards working with agents
Mm.
together as a small team, let's say.
You mentioned shifting over to more of a product manager and managing agents, data, and I heard you talk about governance or guardrails. Could you expand on why those three things must go together in this evolving role?
So the agents will for sure outperform developers in terms of how fast they can deliver, but they will not replace human in terms of judgment. What we really need to take into account into the automation or the project we are doing to achieve
Right.
truly the goal that we need. In my experience, large language models and agents work best if we feed them as much information as needed, but
Mhm.
also it needs to be the right data. And
Super.
with that, where we ensure that all the three components that you mentioned are well put together, we will
Mhm.
get the best output from the AI agent. And
Right.
I also saw that senior developers that are experienced with already the development process can perform better using AI agents. They are getting better results than just simple prompts or
Mm.
very basic interactions.
Interesting. Grzegorz, you've been recognized for your willingness to train and mentor other employees. What do you think are some essential skills beyond Gen AI that RPA developers must focus on to stay ahead in their careers?
I would say the essential skill that gave me the most advantage was cloud fluency. I know that cloud sounds very scary at first.
Hmm.
We all heard the stories about some crazy bills or seen very complex certification process and so on. But in the end, if you spend some time learning the cloud, you will see how it acts as a Lego bricks. You have
Hmm.
access not only to big infrastructure setup, but also to smaller software as a service, for example, that
Hmm.
I use very often, not only with sometimes to produce proof of concept, if some project will work. And if not, it's a cloud, so I can just delete it and start over. Or and in consumption-based model, that's it. I will not pay more. But
Right.
there are a lot of software, great software as a service. One that goes really well with RPA is OCR.
Hmm.
And I've been using Form Recognizer that not only does OCR, but also classifies data from the document into keeper values.
Hmm.
And that's that step forward for us when
Hmm.
we implemented that service. Even now, we have several projects using it, and we're still returning to it using new functions like barcode recognition and so on. And constantly in our team, we are going back to the cloud services, working with text analysis, text sentiment, working with OCR, with classifiers and so on. So there is a plenty of things that you can do with cloud services, and you don't need to start big. You can start with something smaller, see if that works for you, and then expand either with adding security, adding more capacity to your services based on the usage and so on. So I think that's a great addition to your skill set if you
Yeah.
have knowledge of any cloud provider portfolio.
Hmm. Do you see the role of cloud becoming even more important as we move toward agentic automation?
I think, yes, cloud is already like a key component. And from cloud providers, you can see that they always have the newest, latest technologies,
Mhm.
like with Microsoft Azure, when they implemented OpenAI, Google, that is dominating the benchmarks. Sorry,
Okay.
with Gemini, the AWS with affordable offerings. So if you stick with the cloud providers, they have
Mhm.
the latest technology, and they
Okay.
have great great training materials, a lot of samples. If you need to start with something, they
Hmm.
have even great events, great labs. So
Hmm.
it's all there for you.
Hmm.
So you can start building.
Okay. Let me hit another subject that I know is very important in the world of
Hmm.
automation development, and that's the level of collaboration that you have between your automation team and stakeholders like process owners and IT. How how do you ensure that automation projects meet the business needs and comply with organizational standards?
So our team, we have two roles. One is RPA developer. The other one is process analyst that
Hmm.
knows business a little bit better than developer, and they are ensuring that the process is ready for automation. And
Hmm.
developers and analysts are working closely together to decide what technology will be the best, how to work on that case, what will work the best. And with Gen AI or with any AI, we are making sure that the business is okay. They are
Hmm.
comfortable with using such technology. And usually they are very excited and they want to be part of such solution. When we adopted in my team, it was very early. I think as early as Microsoft announced that they are moving OpenAI to general availability in the
Hmm.
cloud. We
Hmm.
contacted Microsoft for the access, and then we collaborated with data team, cybersecurity, and legal team to be sure that we covered everything from the setup to data that we are processing, how we are processing, where we are processing, to be in line not only with our internal policies, but
Hmm.
with what is going on globally, with what EU is law are being implemented at that time. And that was very, I would say, flexible process
Hmm.
as everything was getting started, getting established at that time. So we also collaborated even offline outside of the mandatory assessments to see that we are on the same page. We know what is being processed, how and where, that to minimize the negative impact, to be in line with all the laws.
Right. That's a really great model for collaboration, and you're certainly involving all the right parties to make sure that a project has a good foundation for moving forward. Once that project moves forward and you've done an automation for the business, how do you measure success of that? How do you evaluate the impact on the business?
We created custom object that is used in every one of our processes, and it is collecting time that robot spends and report it to SQL database. And there are various checkpoints in the process, and based on that we are collecting time, and it is labeled as productive, so spent on processing the case, non-productive, so like startup, cleanup, any exception handling. We are tagging it based on the accounts, customers, and so on. So then after, as the automations are going, we have clear insight how much time and where is spent, where we have some bottlenecks, what customers, or if any problems. So that's a great way to keep track of time per FTE saved.
Got it. I've heard mention of this concept of a culture of innovation within Electrolux. Can you elaborate on what that means to you and how you think it contributes to the success of your automation projects?
So in our team, we encourage developers to always try and search for new technologies. We have weekly developers meeting where we discuss what we learn, what we have difficulties with, how can we approach such problems, how we can approach difficult projects that are coming. To further encourage developers, our developers can take some, maybe not time off, but they are off the process planner, and they can spend some of their time learning, discovering whatever new solution they have on the radar. We often try to challenge ourselves with participating in competition like Blue Prism Awards or hackathons. Last month I was off on parental leave, but my teams, they were in top 5 in our internal hackathon with data organized by data team.
That's great. Grzegorz, you've worked on several innovative projects there at Electrolux, and you referenced many of these in your submission for this award that you won. One of those was the dispute handling automation that I thought was pretty interesting. Can you kind of walk us through that and talk about how you leverage Blue Prism and Gen AI to achieve success in that?
Sure. Dispute handling process is when our customers are sending us debit notes because there was incorrect amount of items sent or the price was incorrectly charged. They want to be reimbursed in some way. And then dispute case needs to be open in SAP system and processed by human agent. We started with 3 or 4 customers and then expanded to around 7 more. And I found great use for Gen AI, large language models, with understanding the document context as a whole. What is the reason for the dispute? As the layout can vary per customer, or the reason can be different every time. So in order to make it as fast and reliable as possible, I went with using as much API calls, integrating as much software with API as possible. So the documents are coming to shared mailbox, and using Graph API, robot is picking up and creating the queue. Once it collected the queue of documents to process, it is using OCR form recognizer, and it is using REST API first to classify what customer is it from, and then it is reading the raw text of the document. Then I created a matrix with custom prompts for each customer, because sometimes the information that we need can vary.
Right.
And OpenAI was using that prompt and the document context. It gave me JSON answer in exactly the format I needed to pass for further processing. When that's done, then the another part of the process was picking up the already transformed data and starting the dispute cases in SAP. So the real human agent accountant could just start their day and see the pipeline of cases they have. They don't need to move it or start them manually. There is one more trick that I really, really like, is that sometimes on the documents, our products are described in a technical way, like there is a serial number or short description what it is. But in order to start dispute case, we had to assign it to big or small appliance. And I created small database with products descriptions and transform them into vectors with OpenAI embedding. And every product that is described in the document, I could search by vector, which is much faster and more reliable sometimes. Those things don't match very well.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really neat solution. Well, Grzegorz, as we wrap up here, I wonder if you can talk about what advice you would give to other developers that are looking to integrate Gen AI into their automation projects. What you've mentioned some best practices and tricks you've learned along the way, but what would you say to those development teams that maybe are just getting started on that?
I would say start with easier bounded cases like this document data transformation, some data extraction. They show value fast, and going through simpler case, you will get the feeling of how to work with Gen AI. There are also plenty of prompting guides, best practices on Gen AI provider site. So you will learn a lot, and it will give you some insight what you can use in your future projects. And when you encounter problems, don't be afraid to split your task into smaller pieces and talk with the AI. I can give you an example. I was from the documents I process, I needed to get one number. Gen AI constantly gave me the incorrect one, even number that didn't existed on the document, and we started to worry that that it's hallucinating. But then I tried to baby step the model. I gave the model the document data, and I was started to asking simpler question like classify the data however you want, and then I saw what was the problem. The Gen AI model saw this meaning of this number completely different to how I see it, because business gave me some other explanation. Also, one last advice is be prepared that Gen AI market is changing rapidly right now, so be prepared for fast testing, change of the model, and so on. A lot of old models are retiring, new models are appearing.
Yeah. So you'd recommend more of a vendor agnostic approach, I think, on the LLM front and SLMs.
I would say yes. It will be. I think it will be like that for the next couple of years.
Okay. Well, Grzegorz, it's been a lot of fun chatting with you. I really appreciate you joining the podcast, and congratulations again on winning the Global Builder of the Year award. I enjoyed hearing about all of your best practices and how your team is having so much success at Electrolux. And I know many of our listeners who are in similar roles will take note of these as well. So thank you again, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much. Many thanks to my whole team, Anna Vanat, who is COE manager, Piotr Kowalczyk, my direct team leader, who is always a great help. Our RPA developers, they are keeping very high standards in upkeep of our library of processes and objects. Our small automation developers, they are working great things outside of RPA, and process analysts, that they are doing excellent job in communicating business needs to us, especially to Ania Ryba, who worked with me on this dispute management process that we mentioned. She's always a great help in many different projects.
Love it. Sounds like you have a really good team. That's fantastic. Well, thanks again, Grzegorz.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Transform Now, the podcast from SS&C Blue Prism. You can find all of our episodes on your favorite podcast channel, as well as YouTube. To stay on top of the hottest topics in the world of enterprise AI, subscribe now. The future of work is here.